Please welcome to the stage Marius Myking.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm from Snøhetta. It's a Norwegian architecture and design studio. We have several different disciplines: architecture, landscape architecture, interior design, product design, and graphic design, and digital design as well. So we use all these tools to create meaning in our way. When we collaborated with the Noma group in Copenhagen, they came up and wanted to start a new restaurant concept. We tried to find something that we could unite on as a conceptual start, and for us it was very natural to come up with some of its ingredients. So looking closer into actually ingredients, when you look closer, they start looking more like cells. So how are these cells formed? And if we take those cells into space and let those cells grow, it becomes and creates the space. And we ran that program into the space and started forming the space, the different functions and zones. And this is how it ended up looking, where you can see it's carving out space. This is how the visual identity, which takes the same conceptual approach and the language, is starting to look and becomes the menu, the website, the signage. And even the cutlery that we created together with our head chef was there to elevate the actual experience of eating there, of dining. This more inclusive experience where it has a lower price point for gourmet food. As you can see, it also has a stone-washed surface on it, so they don't have to polish it. This actually saves a lot of time in a restaurant that serves that many people a day. 2 years ago, after approaching a lot of different potential collaborators, we wanted to create something in recycled plastic, being the challenge that it is. And it was really difficult. The most difficult part actually is figuring out the sourcing. How can we have a steady line of the type of plastic, not mixed plastic, because all plastics, there's so many different plastics out there, but the right plastic that can actually be useful in a series production way. What we found was yarn in the coast of Norway. And this is the first step of what that became. That chair was actually launched at Stockholm in February, and it's a school chair and fully functional and 100% recycled. In graphic design, a different discipline again, in targeting or approaching these kind of projects, we find that a project that I brought with me here, it's actually ongoing. It's the soloist choir in Norway. In Norway, it's regarded as a national treasure. So we have a high esteem for this as a group. And we set up workshops with them to collaborate on how can we find your unique visual voice? How can we put something out there that explains a little bit what you are about? Together with them, we started doing code experiments and taking in sound in different ways. And we wanted to find something where we could celebrate the singular in the plural, meaning the single voice in the choir, but also the entire choir. We found that we need more facets, and we finally did end up on this solution. The website and visual identity will be out very soon, but as you can see, it goes through the whole language. It goes through their actual posters, how they talk about concerts. They can now, through this language, actually visualize what kind of concerts they're having. We have an ongoing project called Svart. It's an architect project. It's a hotel at the foot of the Svart glacier in northern Norway, just above the Arctic Circle. The location is quite remote. It has this beautiful, beautiful nature around it, and the only way to actually get to it is by boat. This is also something that we want to stay untouched. In 50 years, 100 years, 300 years, if this structure goes away, it should feel like it's never been there. It also should be a powerhouse. By powerhouse, we mean a building that actually generates more power than it uses. So a power-positive house. And this is where the shape of the building comes from. It's by calculating the actual most efficient surfaces to be hit by sun during a year. And in the way that this is not supposed to touch or leave marks in nature. The inspiration came from the crab, the gardeners of the oceans, which led us into defining more of these structures underneath that are hardly even there. You have walkways underneath, you have rooms all around, and a close to normal hotel program, but it's there as an experience hotel. I wanted to show one last project. It's a concept. It's a concept that builds on the belief that most people out there has a little bit of abstract thoughts about actually the internet or digital services. That all these services is actually just up in the air or up in the cloud, as we call them. In reality, they're actually very physical. This is actually a map of the internet cables in the ocean. Now, if you also add data centers and all the structures that goes with this, it has the equivalent energy waste as the entire flying industry. What if, instead of putting a lot of technology into cities, we could build cities around technology?
Did you know that the cloud and the wireless connections you take for granted when you're connected are in fact highly physical servers? These data centers are normally located in remote areas and produce enormous amounts of heat, lost into thin air. Storing data generates 2% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, equal to air traffic worldwide. What if we could harness this heat in a sustainable way to supply an entire city with energy? Welcome to the Spark, a vision for the future of environmentally friendly data centers. By placing the data center in the heart of the city, we can create a smart and sustainable loop. The heat from the data center creates comfort and empowers social meeting places before it ends up in the center again, cooling it down. With local renewable energy, we can balance the power consumption, creating a surplus of energy, a power city. These power cities can be scaled and located anywhere in the world. It's not only a great future vision, it's a new beginning. It's a spark.
Lastly, I'd just like to mention that, in my opinion, one of the greatest things about modern technology today and sustainable technology today is that it doesn't have to look sustainable. It can actually look very, very good. And maybe one day we get to collaborate with some of you. Thanks.